July 20th, 2014. Been watching the webcams on the website this morning, guys. There's been a lot of bombing, but this appears to be a major fuel fire, and it's been burning for hours. But they're saying Israeli troops backed by tanks and warplanes battle Hamas militants in a crowded neighborhood of Gaza City early Sunday. It's pretty much street battling. The fighting, including heavy Israeli tank fire, killed scores of Palestinians and forced thousands to flee and damaged or destroyed dozens of homes. The reported 65 people killed as air and artillery strikes echoed. They said they put the number displaced at 35,000 so far. Now, what's happened is each neighborhood they're going into, they're describing more and more tunnels being discovered underground. And so it looks like a full-out assault on Hamas. But Abbas, the PA government, is condemning Israeli attack in Shujaa as a massacre. 87 dead in Shujaa in the last day. Remember Egypt? Egypt condemns escalation in military actions in Gaza. That's who led the attack on the Ramadan attack against Israel in 73. Now, 13 IDF Golani soldiers killed in the Gaza op in the last 24 hours. Here's a key thing. Arab Israelis to begin general strike Monday, tomorrow. That's coming up very fast. Remember the enemy within. Vladimir Putin is given one last chance as world fury mounts over down flight. Guys, I haven't talked about this much. This MH17 flight. It appears to be a false flag, and there's key wording and phrasing going on among the nations. I want to go over that, but this is the Dutch Prime Minister. As he talks about the fury mounting, and he says the armed rebels' behavior in blocking access to the crash site is revolting. And there's reports that they're having a lot of trouble getting in among the Russian separatists that are heavily armed. They're pretty much restricting a lot of access, and they're supposedly putting a lot of bodies on a refrigerated train that no one knows exactly where it's going. But the Prime Minister of Dutch, Rutte, he said he's vented his anger following what is called a very intense conversation with Putin, referring to allegations that the bodies of the passengers, including 193 Dutch nationals, were being treated with contempt and allowed to rot at the scene. I was shocked at the pictures of the utterly disrespectful behavior of this tragic spot. Now here comes UK in this. Cameron called for the EU and the West, which is us, to change its approach to Russia if Putin does not alter the course on Ukraine. It's a red flag. Said this is a direct result of Russia destabilizing a sovereign state, violating its territorial integrity, backing thuggish militias, training and arming them. We must turn this moment of outrage into a moment of action. Now that word outrage, remember it. President Obama at the top. Malaysia airline plane crash, an outrage of unspeakable proportions, said Obama. You saw that speech on mainstream. Outrage by him, outrage by David Cameron. When I read that, it reminded me of a study that I've done before about how World War II started. But let's look at this other headline quickly. It says EU to rethink the Russian relations. Britain, France, and Germany agreed need for more robust stance against Putin and may press for further sanctions. Now this Reichstag fire, this is what rang a bell after reading the word outrage by the UK and the US. Shortly after 9 p.m. on 27th of February 1933, the Berlin Fire Department received a message that Reichstag was on fire. Despite the best efforts of the firemen, most of the buildings were gutted by the blaze. It says by 11:30 p.m. the fires were put out. Firemen and police inspected the ruins and found 20 bundles of inflammable material, fire lighters unburned, lying about. At the time the fire was reported, Hitler was having dinner with Joseph Goebbels at Goebbels' apartment in Berlin. Now, when Goebbels received the phone call informing him of the fire, he regarded it as a tall tale at first. Sure he did. And hung up. Only after the second call did he report the news to Hitler. You remember the phone calls during 911 around to locate Bush and Cheney? Both left Goebbels' apartment and arrived by car at the Reichstag. That's the parliament. That's in Germany. That was one of their major building. It says, just as the fire was being put out, and he says they were met at the site by Hermann Göring, who told Hitler this is a communist outrage. One of the communist culprits had been arrested. Hitler called the fire a sign from God and claimed it was a signal meant to mark a communist revolt. I'll pull this up. That's what they're talking about. Now, again, Russia would not be the one to benefit from shooting this plane down. The Russian separatists would not be the ones to benefit from this happening. Ukraine would, because it would bring world attention to their plight. Also, if the other nations wanted to bring about war, that would be an excellent way to do it. It says the day after the fire, Hitler asked for and received from President Hindenburg the Reichstag fire decree, signed into law by Hindenburg using Article 48 of the Weimar Constitution. The decree suspended most civil liberties in Germany. We call it martial law. It said you used to ban publications not considered friendly to the Nazi cause, like censorship, internet censorship. It said the Enabling Act gave Hitler the right to rule by decree. Passed easily on March 23, 1933, he garnered the support of the right-wing German National People's Party and the Catholic Center Party. The Pope was all behind it. And remember how everyone got behind Bush and Cheney after 9/11 guys? Same thing happened. But it's important to remember the outcome. It said 85 million deaths from war-related disease and famine. 38 to 55 million civilians, including 19 to 25 million from war-related disease and famine. Total military dead, 22 to 25 million, including deaths in captivity of about 5 million prisoners of war. Now, they estimates 5.7 to 7.3 million Jews in German-occupied Europe were Holocaust victims, about 78%. Now, again, just briefly going back to the blood moon video, there were no blood moons during this time, and that would be the most important time to Israel and to the world. People talk about all over the world, nothing. But it's a heads up on this, guys, because things are moving way too fast. We have the Mexican border we're watching, Israel, Ukraine, but this Russian deal and the conflict between Europe and the U.S. and Russia smells of one thing, and that's a lot of money for the war machine and a lot of deaths and leading to Armageddon. And ISIS is bombing now inside Baghdad city, car bombing, a lot of people getting hurt there, again, from within. Now, it's time to pay attention, guys. Heads up, be safe.